All right, let's get started. Over the next few minutes, we're going to go on a pretty cool journey. We're going to see how we can take something totally meaningless and transform it into one of a company's most powerful assets. Okay, let's dive right in.
So check this out. On your screen, you see a number, 237,569 euros. I mean, it's a fact, right? It's super precise. But what is it? By itself, it's pretty much just noise.
Yeah, exactly. What does this actually mean? Is it someone's salary? Maybe a sales figure? Could be the cost of a new project. Who knows? The point is, without any context, this number has basically zero value. It's just a raw fact kind of floating out there in the void. And that right there, that's our first big definition. That's data. Think of it as the raw material, all the symbols, figures, measurements that are honestly pretty useless until we start to organize them. Data is where it all begins, but it's definitely not where we want to end up. Okay, so let's really see this transformation happen. The jump from data to actual information. Just look at these examples. Our mystery number, that 237,569 euros, that's just data. But you slap it on a bank statement, and boom, now it's information. It's a balance, maybe a transaction. A list of names? Just data. But organize those names into a sales forecast? Now that's powerful information. See the difference? Information is just data that we've shaped, processed, and given some real context to.
So that begs the question, right? How do we actually do this? How do we systematically create all this meaning? Well, there's a really useful framework for this, often called the wisdom pyramid, or you might hear it as the DIKW model. This is basically our roadmap for climbing from raw facts all the way up to real, actionable insight.
All right, so at the very bottom of the pyramid, we've got data. You can think of this as the know-nothing stage. We've got all the pieces, right? All the recorded facts, but we don't understand any of the relationships or patterns between them. It's our list of student test scores, our lonely little euro amount.
Okay, take one step up the pyramid, and now we're at information. This is the know what level. Here's where we've actually organized the data. We've put it in context, and now we can start answering some basic questions. Things like, what were our sales last quarter? Or what's the average test score? We've successfully turned those raw facts into something useful, like a report or a graph.
Now we're getting somewhere. The next level is knowledge. This is the know-how level. And this is a big leap, because it isn't just about understanding what happened in the past. It's about understanding how things work. We start to synthesize all that information over time, we add our own experience to the mix, and we create rules. We now know how to improve those test scores or how to increase sales because we've learned from the information we gathered.
And finally, we reach the peak of the pyramid, wisdom. This is the know-why level. This is where it all comes together. It's the ability to see the big picture, to really get the underlying principles of what's going on. Wisdom is what lets us apply our knowledge to totally new situations and make really sound judgments about what to do next.
And this distinction is absolutely crucial. Knowledge is all about efficiency, doing things right. It's about perfecting your process, making it faster, making it better. But wisdom is about effectiveness. It's about doing the right things. It's taking that step back and asking, wait a minute, is this even the right process to be doing in the first place? One is the how, the other is the why. Big difference.
Okay, so this pyramid idea is great, but it's a bit abstract, right? So how do we actually record and structure data in the real world so we can use it? Well, you might be surprised to learn that this whole concept is way older than you think.
Way before we had silicon chips and circuit boards, the Inca Empire had this absolutely fascinating system for recording data. It was, for all intents and purposes, a physical computer made entirely of string.
They called it the quipu system. It used different kinds of knots, a whole rainbow of colors, and even how the chords were placed to record pretty much everything, from census data to historical stories. It was a persistent physical data structure, a shared language that could turn simple knots into incredibly complex information. It just goes to show you structuring data is a fundamental human need. All right, so we've got our data structured into useful information. What's next? Well, the whole point is to use it to make decisions, right? And in our world, that's where algorithms come into play. So broadly speaking, you can think of algorithms falling into two main camps. On one side, you've got procedural algorithms. These are rigid, they're systematic, they're precise. They follow a strict set of instructions step by step to guarantee they get the right answer every single time. Then you've got heuristic algorithms. These guys are different. They're more like rules of thumb. They're designed to find a good enough solution really fast, even if it's not the absolute 100% perfect one.
You want to see a perfect example of a procedural algorithm? Think about what happens when you type your credit card number in online. There's an algorithm, the Loon algorithm, that runs a step-by-step mathematical formula to check if that number is even plausible. It has to be 100% accurate every single time. There's just no room for good enough when you're dealing with money.
Now, for a heuristic, think about finding a parking spot at a busy mall. You're not sitting there calculating the absolute, mathematically optimal spot in the entire lot, are you? No way. You're using a heuristic, a mental shortcut. I'm going to get as close to the entrance as I can without spending forever driving around. You're prioritizing speed and convenience over finding that one perfect solution.
Okay, so let's zoom way out for a second. How does an entire organization, a whole company, manage this constant flow from data to decisions? Well, they build an infrastructure, a whole set of interconnected systems that basically act as the company's engine.
And this infrastructure is built in layers, from the ground up. At the very bottom, you have the data systems. Their only job is to store and to find all that raw data. Then, sitting on top of that, you have the information systems. These are the ones that handle the communication, the processing of that data. And then right at the top, you've got the activity systems, which take all that information and use it to coordinate real-world business actions, like shipping an order or launching a marketing campaign.
Okay, let's zoom in on that middle layer, the information systems, because not all systems are created equal. Let's just walk through this table. At the base level, you've got your transaction processing systems, or TPS. This is for the day-to-day grind. Think of the point-of-sale system at Walmart scanning your groceries. It's just capturing transactions. Now, a management information system, or MIS, takes all that raw transaction data from the TPS and turns it into useful sales reports for managers. And then at the very top, you have decision support systems, or DSS. These help executives with the really big picture, complex, what-if kinds of questions. A fantastic example is UPS's Orion system, which uses a DSS to figure out the most efficient delivery routes for its entire fleet of trucks every single day. But here's the problem. Having all these different systems can create what we call silos, where data gets trapped in one department and can't be seen by another. So the ultimate goal, the holy grail of all this, is to create a totally seamless flow of data across the entire organization. And this is where the hero of our story comes in, the Enterprise Resource Planning System, or ERP. It's basically the ultimate solution to that silo problem. We're talking about a massive software package from big companies you've heard of like SAP or Oracle that's designed to integrate everything, finance, sales, inventory, HR, into a single unified brain for the entire company. What an ERP system does is it creates that thing that every company dreams of, a single source of truth. It literally becomes the company's central nervous system. This means the person on the factory floor and the CEO in the corner office are all looking at and working from the exact same real-time information. It connects everyone and everything, and it can totally revolutionize how a business operates.
And that brings us full circle, right back to where we started. We've gone on this incredible journey from a single, meaningless number to a fully integrated, data-driven organization. We have the data, we have the information, we have the knowledge. But that leaves us with the ultimate question, the one that sits right at the very peak of that pyramid. In a world with infinite data, with all this power at our fingertips, how do we find the wisdom to do the right thing?